Welcome to 3200. This is Ike. I got Jonathan with me, and we got a special guest with me. We're going to be introducing here shortly. Welcome to the show. I know the show says right there by Jonathan Head, it says it's live, but today everything is pre-recorded, man. But if you got any, we'll be in the comments. So if you got anything, we'll be lighting up the comments. Go ahead right now while we're talking about comments. Light up the like, share, and subscribe button. Smash those buttons for us real quick. Show us a little love. And we got a little house cleaning we're going to do here. We got, just want to say, we have partnered with Grateful Apparel. So if you use this code, D3200, you can save 15% off anything on their website. Once again, that's Grateful Apparel. Check it out. They got some nice clothes, motivational clothes. It's clothes with a message on it, man, to make you feel good, to make everyone around you feel good. So check them out. Remember to use the code D3200 to save 15% off. We got special guests with us today. As you know, last month we talked about we lost our grandmother, and she suffered with dementia. Uh, and we've got some other family members that's also struggling. So last month we just kind of talked about a little bit of dementia, just talked about the way we felt and how we dealt with it, and just try to get some answers. So this week we got somewhat of a specialist there. We got all the way from Canada. We got Miss Anita LWANGA. How you doing today, Miss Anita?
I am doing great. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on your show. The first thing I want to say is I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry you guys lost your grandma.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you.
We appreciate it. Miss Anita, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, your profession, what you're doing, and how you deal with the elderly.
Okay. I'm a geriatrician. I'm also an internal medicine specialist. So, as physicians, after we go through medical school, we choose different specialties. So, I chose to specialize in adult medicine, which is internal medicine. And then geriatrics is the specialty of taking care of adults that are 65 years plus. So, I have additional training in taking care of adults that are 65 years and older. As we get wiser, we tend to have a lot of challenges. And one of the common challenges that we have is memory loss. So I think it's a very important topic. It's very important for people to be aware, and also to talk a little bit about some of the things that we can do to diagnose the memory loss, treat it if it's reversible, and perhaps prevent it.
Okay. All right. I think my first question for you was like, um, like for us, it seemed like it all just kind of happened all of a sudden with our grandmother and then some of the other elderly people in our family. It just seemed like it just one day in and out. Are there signs? Because that's one thing I start to me and my sister and my other brothers. We kind of talk, about our parents. Because we don't know if our parents are going to go through the same thing. Like, what are some of the signs and things we should be looking at now to make sure that we know ahead of time? I guess would be the question.
That's a great question. I think it's important to be aware, first of all. About 40% of people that are 65 years and older will have some form of memory loss. And there are different forms of memory loss. But answering your question specifically in terms of signs and symptoms, looking at your parents, if they're doing things that are uncharacteristic of themselves, that's when I'll be concerned. Of course, a little bit of forgetfulness, forgetting your keys somewhere, or forgetting the day of the week. A lot of us do that regardless of our age, just because how busy we are. You don't remember it's June, 18th, 25th, that's okay. But if they're concerning things such as, say, spending money in a way that's not characteristic, or personality changes, that would be quite concerning, or even doing things that are putting yourself or others at danger. For example, there's a specific type of dementia called frontal temporal dementia. It affects the front of the brain, and the front of the brain is the part of our brain that is involved in restraining ourselves from doing things that are not socially acceptable, and in organizing. So if you notice a parent is spending money in a way that is going to be detrimental to themselves or detrimental, say, to their legacy. Like they're always talking about, oh, I'm going to save money for, my kids and that kind of thing. And suddenly they're gambling. That is very concerning. If they're doing, or as I say, personality changes, they act like a completely different person. That would be very concerning as well. And if they have, even if they have small deficits in their memories or having difficulties functioning day to day, for example, they're leaving the stove on, that would be quite concerning because they're going to be a danger to themselves and those around them if they burn down the house.
Wow. Jonathan,
yeah, that threw me off. So if you notice those signs, I guess my question would be like, what would be the best way for a smooth transition? So, like you said, what if they have those mood swings? What's I don't know, like a smooth transition for the children and possibly spouse?
That's a great question. And that's something that we unfortunately deal with every day as geriatricians and even as non geriatricians. It's not uncommon for family members to be completely frustrated and at wit's end, and they forcibly bring a family member to the hospital. But before you get to that point, if the patient has a regular doctor, their primary care provider, I think it's very important as children of parents that are a little bit more advanced in their years to get involved in their health. So even before all of this starts to happen, start asking questions and start saying, hey, can I go to your appointment with you? Most older parents would be like, yeah, I have a chance to spend with my kid. They'll be happy to do that. And I think a lot of older parents that have some self-awareness would want their children to start being involved in day-to-day things in case they transition. They'd want their kids to know who the lawyer is, if they have those things in line, bank accounts, where the bank accounts are located. So if you notice your parents started to make those kind of comments, say, oh, hey, can I go to your appointment with you? Or do you mind, if your doctor gives me a call afterwards so that, we can discuss the plan together. And if you happen to make it to those appointments, or if you can convince them to go to those appointments, as the doctor is asking questions, you can also share your concerns or share things you've observed. It's very common, even as people are younger, for family members to chime in and add information that completely changes our diagnosis and changes the trajectory of care. So if you go with a parent and you notice they're having mood swings, they're not spending the money appropriately, it could be very awkward talking about these things. But at least if you mention it, or you can also mention it in confidence, like afterwards, be like, oh, I'd like to share my number with you. Can I call you later on? And I think it's also open to be important. So tell your parent, I'd like to talk to your doctor. I want to be in the loop in case you can't speak for yourself. And at least if you make things open at the beginning, then your parent will know you're talking to your doctor. And even if you tell their doctor things that they don't like, it's for their own good. If you're in a situation where it's an emergency, you haven't necessarily built this relationship with your family member's doctor, they're doing things, say it's a spouse or a husband, his personality has changed, he's harassing his wife, and you as the children know that it's not a safe situation for the mother, it's not uncommon to see children call the ambulance and have the parents sent to the hospital. And in that case, doctors might do tests to figure out, is there something causing them to act abnormally? For example, it could be an infection. As we get a bit wiser or older, our bodies take a hit from different kind of illness more than they would. So sometimes people have what we call delirium, which is a temporary, almost psychosis or loss of themselves, loss of their mind. If the infection is treated, they go back to normal. But some people have undiagnosed dementia with what we call behavioral disturbance, meaning that their behaviors are inappropriate or disruptive to themselves or their family members. And there are medications that we sometimes put to help the patient manage those behaviors and help their family members cope.
So Anita, Miss Anita, is there something like I think we're in our 40s, right? We're still relatively young in our mind, I guess.
I'm not
But
in my 40s.
so is there something, because I was just getting me some vitamins, and they had all kinds of vitamins. They had vitamins for memory, and they had vitamins that say they do certain things. But is there something like at this stage in our lives that we can do to help protect our memory or protect us from getting dementia? Is there exercise, certain type of vitamins I need to be looking out for, anything that would help me, that would help prevent me from dealing with this at any time in my life?
I love that question. That is a great question because, as they always say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So, if you can start doing things in your life right now to prevent that from happening, that's the way to go. So the best thing, or the main thing that we found that actually has evidence behind it, is exercising. Even if you don't have memory problems, say if you happen to be fairly young, you're a student and you're studying, if you happen to exercise primarily before you're studying, you increase the blood flow to your brain and you'll retain what you learn better. For people who are not studying, just with your day-to-day life, it's very important to continue exercising. Current guidelines recommend exercising at least 40 to 60 minutes, 4 days per week, up to 6 days per week. And most of us don't get that. It's very hard to do that. But one of the things you could do, it doesn't have to be, a crazy hard workout. Like, I think Insanity is one of these workouts that are in vogue. It doesn't have to be that. It could be as simple as a walk. You could go for a walk in the morning. If you have a routine, like a prayer routine, or you meditate, do that first thing in the morning. I tend to do that while I'm drinking my coffee because I'm like, otherwise it's not happening. So exercise. The other thing is make sure you're eating a well-balanced diet with lots of fruits and vegetables. Try avoid processed foods. An easy way to know if something is processed or not processed is to look at it and say, does it fly? Does it walk? Does it swim? And did it grow that way? A lot of stuff is like that. Like one of my favorite things, my Starbucks latte is not in its natural form. But the coffee, the black coffee, okay, that's pretty close to its natural form. So select foods in their natural form. In terms of taking vitamins and supplements, I'd actually recommend against doing that. I think it's better to invest your money in eating whole foods that are healthy. The only case where I'd say it's important to take vitamins is if your doctor checks your blood levels of very specific vitamins and then tells you, take this vitamin. And afterwards, they should check the levels to make sure you're back to normal. For example, vitamin B12 deficiency and vitamin B1 deficiency can cause memory problems, but that presents in a way that's quite obvious. And people who would be at risk of having those deficiencies are, say, people who tend to drink quite a bit of alcohol. So another thing to avoid doing is not to drink more alcohol than you need to. I think the current guidelines recommend no more than one alcoholic beverage for women or 2 alcoholic beverages for men per day. If you do not need to drink at all, that's even better. So those would be the main things. Another thing I'd say is make sure you're getting enough sleep, and not just regular sleep, good quality sleep. There's a condition called sleep apnea where people don't actually sleep very well. Some of the symptoms would be snoring, or if a bed partner says you're acting out your dreams. In that case, perhaps you can talk to your doctor about being checked for sleep apnea. And when people get treated for that, not only does their memory get better, other medical conditions that they might have, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, are much easier to control. So it's a lot of the basic stuff that our mamas and our grandmas told us. Like your grandma's like, eat your vegetables, go to bed, drink more water, do all that stuff.
Yeah. Yep. I guess that's good advice from when we were younger that it still help us out now. That's good. Another question I had there. Like, seems like the number for dementia has gone like crazy high in the last decade than what I remember when I was younger. Is it because we're more aware of it, or is it actually is the number actually going up because it's something that's happening a lot more often these days?
That is a very observant and excellent question. I think there are primarily 2 reasons why that is happening. First of all, I think we're more aware. The thing with medicine, every year they come up with a new diagnosis. It's like you think you know one thing, and then they tell you, oh yeah, there's 3 more new diagnoses that are related to that. What we used to think is X is actually Y. So I think with dementia, that's a great example. There's actually this new condition called limbic predominant age-related encephalopathy, or for short, they call it LATE. And they're finding people present with very odd, almost psychiatric symptoms. And it's not actually a psychiatric condition. It's because there's antibodies. Basically, the body is attacking itself, or there could be a cancer that's causing that. So going back to answer your question specifically, number one, I think we're more aware of dementia. We're more and also aware of different causes of memory loss. So I think there's a wider spectrum of diagnoses that cause memory problems. Number two, I think people are living a lot longer and are living a lot are healthier at an older age. For example, I used to work at the VA in Chicago, Jesse Brown VA, and I had a couple of 90-year-olds, and these were veterans, and I couldn't believe they're 90-year-olds. There was one who was like playing basketball with the youngins every day, and I think his secret was that he was exercising. So people are living longer, and we see 90-year-olds. I think my oldest patient was 107. People are living a lot longer, and they're functional, they're independent. So even though they're independent, they look good. As we get wiser and older, we're more at risk of having various medical conditions, including memory problems and dementia.
Now, I had a question. So I guess my question would be how to approach someone that you think that is having dementia. So, like, we have an older brother. He's not on here now. And he's so forgetful. He forgets everything. He exercises. His name is Leo. But he just, I don't know, he's just so forgetful. Even his wife says he's forgetful, his kids. So how do we approach people that are more hesitant to go into the doctor to see about this?
I think the first thing to do is to approach him with love. Like, let him know that you care about him. You're there to support him. And that can be awkward, with your siblings, depending on the kind of relationship you have. Like, I know if I went to one of my siblings, I'm like, oh, I'm so worried about you. They'll look at me and be like, what do you want? So it can be very awkward, but I think as long as you let them know that you really care about them, you're willing to do anything to support them, and then just mention your observations, and then ask if there's anything you can do to help them. And then I'll leave it at that, and just make it a conversation that's rolling. So say if you see them again, like a couple of weeks later, be like, oh, how are things going with XYZ? And perhaps over time they'll open up to you and start to say, oh yeah, I really noticed that this and this is happening. And then they might say, you know what, I've actually been really stressed out, or I've been feeling very depressed. And especially in younger people, but also in older people, depression could be masked as forgetfulness or memory problems. So it could be something that is not what it appears to be. And you reaching out and letting them know that you care about them could be the thing that makes them take the step to get help. And then if he's agreeable, and if you happen to have the conversation with his wife, wives tend to be very good at telling on their husbands when they go to the doctor's appointment. They will be like laying everything out, and you're like, oh, so that's what happened. So if you can get his wife involved in this conversation, a so-called intervention, but you want to do it in a very sensitive way so he doesn't feel defensive, and just really let him know in a way that he understands that you care for him. You don't necessarily have to use those words. If you're going to go out and eat dinner and you buy him his favorite treat, like something to make him happy and kind of get those defenses down, and then start talking to him and let it be a conversation that evolves over time. Don't expect him to open up right away.
Thanks. We love you, Leo. We're gonna get you a lot of shrimp. We get you a lot of shrimp.
Oh, that's the secret. Yeah, you guys need to plan like shrimp dinners like every 2 weeks, something like that on Sunday, like a day where his defenses are down and he's happy, and just like get the whole family there, get things that make him happy and get his guard down. Then, over time, I'm sure he'll open up.
Oh yeah. I don't know. He's a little tougher. He's a little stubborn, but we're trying out.
But it's good you know that. It's good you know that. That way you'll have the patience to keep going. Just don't give up on him. Like, as long as he knows over time.
Oh yeah. So on patients. So for us, for me, I can't say for us. I can speak for myself. For me, when our grandmother when our grandma started showing deep signs of dementia, like for me, it was hard for me to. I felt like the connection was gone. I felt like our connection was gone. Like it wasn't the same person, because she was, like you said, she was all out of her element. She would cuss us out. She would say mean stuff. She didn't know who we were. She would call us, different people and stuff. and you know, she was really out of it. Like, I mean, during her worst, she was really like out of it. Like she didn't know, you know, she was way gone. So for me, it was hard to connect with her, and I felt like our connection was gone. Um, and I'm not much of a caretaker, Miss Anita. I won't lie. I'm not much of a caretaker, and I'm not like it was hard for me to go visit and do the stuff because to me it didn't feel like grandma. Like so for families dealing with it. And my sister, she was the opposite. My sister, she was there every weekend. She was all, you know, she was all in there. And I was like, and I would tell her like, I can't do it like that. It doesn't feel the same to me. So for families like dealing with it, what advice would you give to families dealing with it, and what advice, you know, what would you tell them, you know, to look out for, and what they should be doing when dealing with a family member dealing with dementia?
That's a great question. And I think it's great that you're first of all aware that you and your sister had different reactions and experiences. So I think first of all, educating yourself, understanding what diagnosis does your loved one have. As I mentioned, there are different causes of memory loss. Is it more of depression? Is it what we call classic Alzheimer's dementia? And what does that mean? Alzheimer's dementia is going to progress. Unfortunately, a simple way of looking at it is that people kind of regress backwards to what they were like a baby. So people will forget memories, they'll forget like things that happened a few days ago to eventually forgetting things that happened way in the past. People forget to walk, they forget to feed themselves. And eventually they regress to a point where they're in bed all the time. And unfortunately, most people forget to breathe or end up choking, and unfortunately they die as a result of, you know, their main functions, even functions that most babies have, going away. So as sad as that sounds, being aware of that and being aware of the stages will let you know what to prepare for. So that, say if you're the type of person who knows, I think so, as we talked about, self-awareness is very important. You know that if somebody's acting in a way that is hurtful to you, you don't want to be there, but you know it's early in their diagnoses, then take the time right now to spend as much time with them as you can, and in a way that supports both of you. For example, if you know they've always loved ice cream, they still like ice cream, they don't remember you, that's okay. We're gonna go for ice cream, and you can tell them, show them pictures, say, hey, this was our favorite ice cream spot. We used to go here all the time. And even if they don't remember, they're gonna be happy. They'll be like, okay, yeah. They might not remember everything you're saying, but at least you're engaging on that level, and you'll have those memories left over. For other family members who say it's very hurtful for them or very difficult for them to see their loved one in that situation, I think it's okay. If you're one of those people and you know it's very difficult for you to be with that loved one because they're not the same and you find it almost traumatizing, it's okay. You can remember them in your own way. If you have pictures, it's okay to look at those pictures and remember the good memories. If you have other family members that can be supportive and spend time with that family member, that's good. If you're able to get yourself out there and also remember those other family members would like a break, if you guys can take shifts or take turns, and then just find a way to make it, you know, something you can handle. Say if you're gonna go visit them while they're sleeping, okay, you're there with them. This is your way of honoring them. You're watching them while you're sleeping, and you're also giving your other sibling a break. And maybe when you're at their house, you look at pictures. That's okay. I think you have to be patient with yourself. At the same time, support other family members who are doing their best. Unfortunately, it ends up being that one or two family members end up taking care of that family member the most, and they end up having what we call caregiver burnout. So having that just awareness, just awareness of the fact that there is such a thing as caregiver burnout, it might make it easier for you to be with a loved one even though they're difficult. If they're cussing you out, tell the other one, make sure they took their meds, make sure they've gone to bed, make sure we have the favorite snack out there so that you can also engage in a level that's comfortable for you.
Good. Appreciate it. Jonathan, you had anything?
Nah, I'm just gonna tell Leon I love him.
You're already working on it. You're already working on it. Good.
This- what sparked your interest into this career?
Wow, that is such a great question. I think I've always liked helping people, and I've always been more interested in health. Like as a kid, I was a competitive gymnast, and I thought I was going to do sports medicine, but things didn't work out that way. I ended up doing internal medicine, which is adult medicine. At one point in time, I was torn in between: do I take care of kids? Because at least for me, when I was doing pediatrics, which is one of the rotations you do when you're in med school, taking care of kids, the kids responded well to me, but I just had to make a choice because I wasn't sure. The good thing about internal medicine is that you can go on and do another specialty afterwards. So I chose that. I also did geriatrics as a med student, and I seemed to do well with the elderly. They responded to me, and I had the patience to interact with them. So after that, I did a fellowship in geriatrics, and I really enjoyed it. And it's just so fascinating, some of the stories that, at least to me, that older patients will tell you. Some of them are, they just tell you things and you're like, wow, the rest of us are on another level. I had another 90-year-old at the VA, and this guy had a 30-year-old son. You do the math. His wife left him. I hope he's not listening. His wife left him. So this is what he did when the wife left. He gave her a car and a fur coat, but he knew what he was doing. Nobody could deal with her, so she came back like 2 or 3 years later. And this was calculated. And I'm like, you're so smart. So when you talk to elderly people, sometimes it seems like the stories are meandering, but you will get so much from those stories and you'll be like, whoa, like these guys are like, they might seem slow to you, but they're doing mental gymnastics. Like they've been there, done that. They know what you're thinking. They know what you're going to say before you said it. And a lot of them are very sharp and they're reading you. They're like, okay, this one. So yeah, I just think it's very fascinating. You can learn so much.
Good. Now, what can you say to the next person that has the same passion for you? How can you because they might be going through and they might have had a hard day with some people that's dealing with dementia. How what can you say to encourage them to keep pushing?
Wow, that's a great question. So just to confirm, you're asking if you have a loved one and it's a hard day and they have dementia. How do you do? What advice would I give them? That's the question. Is that correct?
Well, just a student or
Ah,
someone in your career field that we all come to those points where it might be going uphill and then you just have a horrible day where just chaos hits and then you start to think about am I in the right field? How can we help that person, that man or woman?
yes, that is a great question. We do have tough days as geriatricians. I think remembering the good things. I think it's always good to take inventory of the good things. So even if you have a bad day, your patient yells at you, or their children call and yell at you, or the appointment went much longer than you expected, and then the rest of your day is going longer than it should. I think just take inventory of the good things. Remember those patients who make you laugh, who make you smile, who told you a story. Like I just told you 2 stories. I'm like, I'll never forget these gentlemen. I'll probably never see them again. But those stories are like near and dear to my heart and they make me smile. So remembering witty comments that somebody told you. So take inventory of the good, and on a bad day, just go back to the good things. And remember, good days come, bad days come. Just keep focus on the good days.
So pretty much that would help the student as well as us, as people. Remember the good days, and that might just help us. You had something to say, I
No, I wanted to say, just appreciate. We appreciate you and the work that you put in. I know all jobs don't. No one ever says thank you. Or no one really appreciate it. But the work that you're doing, and the families that you're helping, even the time that you're spending uh, with the elderly, it is appreciated. I know we were really thankful for all the nurses that stayed with our grandmother and our other family members that stay with them, and they're patient with them, and they deal with them, uh, and everything that comes with it. Just because I tell you, just the 5 or 10 minutes or the 30 minutes that we go visit, for me, it's like, it's really rough, and I know everyone that works in that career field, they deal with a lot, and they deal with a lot, and awful things get said to them maybe sometimes, and some great things or crazy stuff happens. So we really do want to thank you for your work, and everything that you're doing, and then even just spreading the word and opening up the awareness, and helping the families out. We really do appreciate it. Information, if we want to get more information on dementia, or any help for the families that are dealing with dementia, is there a place that we can go?
That is a great question. Talk to your doctor. In every city, there's some kind of Alzheimer's or dementia association. So see if you can get connected, get some information. There are support groups for family members that have a loved one with dementia, and just having that camaraderie makes it easier, knowing that you're not alone in the journey. And on top of that, sometimes people will give you tips. For example, there is a program in some cities where it's almost like an adult daycare. So hearing about those kind of things is very helpful. So I think get connected, find people that have similar challenges, and even online. If there's no such group in your city, you can find an Alzheimer's group or a dementia group online, join and see what friends you can make and what kind of support you can get.
Oh, thank you, thank you. And then, if anyone in the audience had any questions for you, or they want to contact you or follow you, how can they do that?
On LinkedIn, my name is Anita, Anita. The last name is Lwanga, Lwanga. You can message me there. On Instagram, it's at Lwanga MD. That's all capital letters. On Twitter, I think I'm also Lwanga MD. TikTok, I'm not there very much anymore, but that's to be continued. We will see. On YouTube, it's Dr. Lwanga, all lowercase. So you guys can feel free to message me. I check my messages occasionally. And yeah, that's the best way to get a hold of me. With regards to patients, I work for the Saskatchewan Health Region. In order to see me, it's referral basis only, meaning your family medicine doctor would have to refer you to see me. So if you happen to be in the Saskatchewan Health Region and you have a loved one that has dementia or is an elderly patient, feel free to ask your doctor for a referral.
Thank you. Thank you again so much. I do apologize. I've been saying Miss and you, Dr. Lwanga. I feel.
It's all good. It's all good.
I apologize, Dr.
All
Lwanga.
good.
All right. So we want to thank Dr. Lwanga again for sharing all this great information with you. Listen, she put out a lot of great nuggets out there, and I'm hoping you guys were catching all of those gems. Um, Listen, it was hard for us when we lost our grandma, and we don't want anyone else to go through some of the stuff that we went through, or we want it to be an easier transition than what we dealt with. So please take this information to heart. Follow Dr. Lwanga, uh, and, and seek help, or seek your local medical team for help. Uh, Once again, thank you, Dr. Lwanga, for coming on today. Jonathan, you had anything else?
Nah, just thank you and thank everyone that's dealing with the elderly. A lot of people, I don't know, when it comes to elderly, homeless, you know, just children, it's like a lot of people are disregarding them and leaving them be. So I just thank everyone from daycare to nursing home, from everyone, teachers, pretty much the jobs that we should be thanking people for, and that we should be paying more money. uh, Thank you from CNAs to RNs to PRNs, all those. You know, you guys are doing great. Just continue to do the great work that you guys are doing.
Yeah, Thank you both for having me. It was a pleasure talking with you both. And thank you for choosing this topic. I think it's very important.
Thank you again. Hey, we appreciate everyone who stopped by and watched it. Hey, do us a huge favor again. Hit that like, share, and subscribe button. We appreciate everyone for watching, and we'll see you here next time on the 3200. All right.
3200, but you already know this. Couple of brothers hard working and focused. Intellectual, entertaining for sure. 32